Good afternoon, everyone. It's Mobile Meltzer here with the Double B in office hours. A great afternoon in beautiful, sunny for once, Southern California. Blaine Bartlett, my mentor, my hero, my iconic friend. He's leading the world in business. BlaineBartlett.com. How are you?
Hey, I could not be better. The sun is shining up here on the island, and life is good.
Life is good, and God is good, and you are great. But our guest is even better. Chris Hewish is here. He is the president and the interim CEO of Xsolla, and we are blessed to have him here to talk about understanding today's studios, and obviously coming off the strike and so many other variables of streaming and OTT, and the whole thing has been flipped upside down from the traditional days that I worked with Lee Steinberg and traditional content. I cannot wait to learn more from Chris Hewish. Welcome to Office Hours.
Well, thank you very much, David. Blaine, I am thrilled to be here, and I appreciate your time and the opportunity to talk about one of the things that I love the most, which is empowering creators to really succeed at their business and connect directly with their audiences.
It's so true, but today creators have such a low bar of entry, and you and I both know when we all started, it was a Billionaires Boys Club that was best suited for creating or being a creator. And today, all you need is a cell phone and an account, and we can create some pretty killer content with the phone and an account. How do you distinguish providing value to the entry-level creator that still may have some extraordinary talent compared to on the gaming and movies and traditional media side, you know, the multi-million-dollar creations that still make money today?
Yeah, you know, that's a really good question. We obviously still have an industry, which I love, where you have very successful, well-established studios that are making linear content or interactive content, reaching big audiences. Those companies, they are really embracing that whole idea of going direct to consumer. And that's something that our company helps facilitate, whether it's on the commerce side, the business side, or the marketing part of it. But then to your point, the barrier between creator and consumer has really been coming down for quite a while. And we're now at this age where the creator and the consumer are almost one and the same. And when it's very easy to create content, you know, that can be fun, and we all see the viral moments and the people that kind of grab some success out of that. But it still doesn't change the fact that, and this is something that I counsel people on, that in order to be successful, it's still work, right? You have to put the effort into it. Even if the content may be easy to generate, it doesn't mean that it's easy to succeed. And the people that think that they're just going to throw something out there because it's fun and it's going to go viral, well, you know, I remind them, you look at the people that are successful creating low fidelity content, if you want to put it that way, and they still work their butts off, right? They have teams in a lot of cases that support them. They really approach it like a job, and that's what it takes to succeed. So, you know, that's one of the things I really encourage people to remember. It may be easier than ever to create content, but it's still a business if you want to succeed at it.
I resemble that.
Yeah, truly. You know, I was kind of reading, I get a little show flow from the team, kind of giving me a little bit of a heads up on who I'm talking to today, sort of a thing. So one of the things that I was struck with as I was reading this, Chris, is, and I love the way that this was actually blended together here. And it's talking about you as a remarkable blend of creative prowess and business acumen that enables you, and this is where I'm interested, to simultaneously develop, design, and produce content while at the same time, this goes to your last point, understanding and executing on a company's vision as well as effectively marketing and branding. Now, that's a mouthful, but the idea of being able to wear those hats, because one of them is a management hat, which has to do with predictability, which has to do with planning, execution, that sort of a thing. The other one has to do with, what I'm calling, kind of a leadership thing, which is disruptive. It's causing movement. It's jumping into the unknown, leaping off the abyss, so to speak. how do you actually manage to bring those two together? Because you have done it extraordinarily well, just given your track record and what you brought to market. How do you bring those two disciplines together?
Well, thank you, Blaine. That is quite a compliment. And I began very much on the creative side of things, and over the years, as I shifted more into the business side, much to my surprise, I've always liked to say that I have a passion for the creative, and I was very shocked to find out I had an aptitude for the business. And
I like the way you put that.
Exactly. Not the way I thought it would have gone when you spoke with 20-something-year-old Chris, but I'm very pleased with how that's come about. But I think the way that's come about, to your point of how do you blend those two things, for me, it's been a couple of things. I've always maintained, kept in touch with that passion, right? And, I haven't veered off and gone into other industries where I've thought, okay, great. You know what? I'm successful at business. I'm going to go conquer some other industry. That would just be a folly, at least for me, because that passion, that creative passion, is the thing that fuels me, right? And helps me go through the grind on the business side of it. And at the same time, it allows me to really stay connected to what's going on in the industry and not sort of get outdated with my thinking. And that's a real problem, right? Where you may be very good at the business and you can, run that smoothly. But if you're not kind of keeping in touch with what is going on in the industry, then you're gonna lose your way. And there's multiple ways to keep in touch, right? For me, it's the creative, the passion part. I still play games all the time, right? I'm an active gamer. I'm a member of communities, so I'm able to take a lot of that and leverage that into the business side of things to, have a good finger on the pulse, to coin a phrase, right, of what's going on.
It's really interesting. So few people have such a dynamic background and experience, but I really want to have you share an evaluation. I know, I've run multi-billion-dollar companies. I've been through a $3.4 billion exit. I've raised hundreds of millions of dollars on Sand Hill Road, but I still think the most challenging thing for me with a business aptitude is having a startup. And, it's just its own beast. And that's why I think I work with so many entrepreneurs in that realm, either funding them or coaching or mentoring them, because to this day, it's one of the most fulfilling things. But by far, until you've sat there figuring out how you're going to make payroll, and those are people, it's no joke. People think about it because it's such a common story, but these are people that have given you their lives and they have families. And I can't think of anything that puts more pressure in business than that direct, small connect of someone giving you their life and believing in you and your vision, and you not being able to pay them to feed their families. I was wondering your perspective, because you've launched 2 different gaming companies yourself. And if, at the highest level, you've worked with the biggest, over $1 billion. I mean, the same kind of story, but I want to know, in your perspective, where that falls in starting a business comparatively to the humongous things that you've been able to achieve in business.
Well, it certainly contributed mostly to the gray hair, I would say that.
That says it all.
It really does. I mean, there are obviously 2 different beasts, and starting a business is, to your point, it really is not for the faint of heart. A lot of people get out there and they have that passion and that creativity, and they jump into the business side of it. But if they're not prepared to treat it like a business, then they either should find somebody to partner up with them, right, to handle that side of it, or they should be expected to have a miserable time, right? And, it's just a great idea by itself. I mean, as sad as it is to say, a great idea doesn't succeed or win the day, right? I love the old sort of quote. I think it was Einstein. I'm not sure. Doesn't matter. But it's 10% inspiration and 90% perspiration. And you got to really be able to put that effort in if you're going to do the startup side of it. Now, look, big companies, they have a whole nother set of issues, right? There's the dynamics of being able to work cross-functional across different, layers of the organization, politics, as people like to say. A lot of that comes into play, and it's a very different skill set. But still, within that, to your point, your analogy, in a big company, you're still probably not the person worrying about payroll, right? Each week, you're worrying about your part of everything succeeding. And if it doesn't work, you play some politics to avoid getting fired and you move on. But with a startup, yeah, the buck stops right there with you, and laying awake at night, not even worrying about payroll tomorrow, but like, oh my gosh, it's not really being able to celebrate the victories for too long, because 6 months from now you need to be onto something else, right? Already in the hopper to take care of things.
Yeah, I love that sickness about you, Chris, and we appreciate you. We have so many other shows. I know Blaine wants you on his podcast. We have other shows to put you on. There's so much more to learn about interactive media, and of course being a studio head as well, with your varied experience and more of your knowledge, and even the dummy tax needs to be shared more. So please promise me you'll come back. We got other shows for you, and there's a thing called Gray Away. I've been using it. It works well to hide the startup experience.
All right. Hey. Well, I would be pleased to come back, and I will take that note. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Chris.
Awesome.
All right. Thank you, Blaine. Thank you, David.
Yeah, got it. We're blessed to have guys like that. He's just so much knowledge. And, I think there's, Blaine, and this from as much as you help me and our team, there's this transference of, we need this combination, not just of young people that know media, but people that have really experienced business and what to do with these good ideas and with the good intentions. I will tell you, before we bring our next guest on, Bill is here, a good friend. I have a sickness because I look back on COVID, when around Miles' birthday, when I was at Sports One Marketing, and our business revolved around the Super Bowl, Pro Bowl, Masters, Kentucky Derby, Breeders' Cup, ESPYs, Emmys, Oscars, and Grammys, millions of dollars of deposits and peoples and commitments for 2020. And within minutes, I had 30 people looking up at me like, what do we do now? And it's the closest you come to probably being a military leader, where, everything's exploding around you, and they're all, you can see like in the ditch, right? Everyone's looking up to the captain, like, oh shit, save me, please. And yeah, I was prepared, and I was proud from all the dummy taxing experience of how quickly we've been maneuvered into the place we are today here, 3 years later, almost to the, we're getting to a couple weeks away from it.
Yeah.
Here we are, 2024 would be 4 years. And never did I imagine at that moment that how prepared I was to be an intelligent follower, a compassionate capitalist, and a leader to put everyone in a better place, a better situation, which is part and parcel to that guidance and mentorship that you're able to give so many of us. So thank you. Wow. Anyways, I wanted to compliment you and thank you, because my life has never been better. Thanks to Blaine Bartlett, BlaineBartlett.com. Hopefully we have Bill Kennedy here. When I'm in the car, I can't see everyone. It's been a while. He has a new book coming out Q1 of this year, and we are excited again to have Bill on, the OTC Industrial Arrowhead Engineered Product CEO. Welcome to Office Hours.
Well, hey, David, it's great to be here. Thank you so much for having me. And Blaine, it's great to meet you as well.
You as well, Bill. Thank you. It's good to have you here.
A man from University of Chicago, the Brain Trust. I'll be there on Monday. I got a big week. University of Chicago, Princeton. We're all over the place next week. I'm speaking in Einstein's lab and next to Oppenheimer's lab. So I'm super excited. Let's talk about the new book, though. Okay. Obviously, you have a scientist engineering approach to things. Give us a little bit of background on what the new book's about.
Yeah, great. So the new book actually comes out February 27th and available in all types of your fine bookstores, and the Audible book's out now. So, really what it's about at the end of the day, it's interesting. I was listening to your last conversation, is how do you come in and get focused around what you're going to do with a business, right? And 80-20 has been around since Pareto, right? Goes back to many, a couple hundred years. But it's taking that mindset and getting focused around the critical few. Where are your profit pools at in your business? Once you identify those, how do you align around it? What do you do about it? And and from there, what's the decisions you make? And it was interesting, you're talking about before, some of the businesses, we all went through 08, 09. We went through the Great Recession. Then we saw the pandemic. I remember getting up thinking, holy cow, how are we going to make payroll, right? It's true for all of us. Focus makes a difference.
So, the book outlines a system Yeah, is if I'm interpreting the title correctly here. Yeah, honestly, Bill, products and profit centers have life cycles. And
That's
one
right.
of the things that I've run into in some of the larger organizations I've consulted and worked with is that we get attached to that money cow, that cash cow. And it can tend to blind us in terms of new opportunities. All kinds of different things can kind of get it, stuck into that whole conversation.
That's right.
From a systemic perspective, and I love the engineering background. And so from a systems perspective, how do you describe going about identifying what that new opportunity is, at the same time weaning ourselves off what has been that lucrative cash cow? Do you actually go into detail with that in any way, shape, or form?
Absolutely.
I thought you might. I could
Yeah.
not. I couldn't believe that you didn't.
It's interesting. If you think of the life cycle of the business, just think of when we all start out, David, maybe when you were doing your startup, we will take almost anyone who will have us. So any customer is a good customer. If they pay, they're my hero, right? And
I love you. I mean it.
Right. And so as that business builds, what happens is you start getting diminishing returns, right? Your customer base expands. You have customers that are keeping you in business, that they like you and you like them because they buy a lot and they pay their bills. But when you really get down to it and you put them all out there, if you've been around a little while, you'll have customers who spend $1 with you. And that customer's cost to serve is the same cost it takes that customer spending $1 million. Same PO you got to process, same amount of mental energy. If you got products you're selling, you got to keep those products on the shelf, and it goes on and on. So one day you wake up and you go, oh my God, I can't grow anymore and I'm starting to lose money. And because you're overburdened so much by the overhead that you're carrying. And you ask yourself, what happens if I just quit doing the things I'm losing money on and I just did simply more of the things I am making money on? And our process is nothing more than taking the data, and we look at it through 2 dimensions. Most people look at it through one. We look at it through both the customers and the products. And we're able to say these are our best customers and these are our B customers, our worst customers, people that don't buy a lot, just how they buy. Then we say these are our best products and these are our B products. And these are products that we make a lot of and ones we don't. And then our best customers buy products we really love to sell, and they also buy things we don't. And then our not so great customers buy those same great products, and then they also buy things that we don't really like. Now, when you lay it all out, you're going to find that less than 20% of all the money you make comes from, more than 80% of all the money you make comes from 20% of those customers, right? The data will just show you that. It'll just show you right away. And once you know that, then what you want to do is identify where you're not making money, take those resources and simply shift them over, right? So it's very basic, and it's all based in facts. You're going to go to University of Chicago, the heart of where fun goes to die. That's why I went there, right? You love math. You look at that math, you go, now, you can't argue with what the math says. Now, you can tell me all the great things, but the facts are the facts, and this is where the money's are. That's where you start.
That's so smart. I have been told at the time, and I got to get the audiobook. Once again, what the title of the book, where people can find it now, audiobook, until the 27th?
Yeah, it's called the 80/20 CEO, Take Command of Your Business in 100 Days, right? And what that is all about, it's a very simple 4-step process. You come in. A lot of what I do is people will bring, I work in private equity. I'm CEO of 2 different companies. One of them is about $1 billion. The other one's about $1.5 billion. I come in, I'll get control of that business in about 6 months and get it aligned around where it needs to go, right? So it's that process. Get a goal, get a strategy, reorg, and then execute on the action plans. And then the rest of the book tells you what the tools are and how to use those tools. So it's a very straightforward. Anyone can do it. Doesn't mean it's easy, right? Everything's easy to the person that doesn't have to do it. But
yeah,
it's simple.
But I grew up with my mentors telling me, 80% of your clients will bankrupt you, and it's same philosophy, which I love. But there's another dynamic. I wonder if you address it in the book, or if you can comment on it now. You know, I do a lot of executive coaching, as Blaine does, with some of the biggest executives with the Fortune, even 10 companies. I had one that they had a hope. So they had a client, a $2 million client that was taking a lot of resources, like you said, a lot of time, but they wanted to develop them into a $2 billion client. And then they had the typical $2 billion client that was so easy. And I gave them the advice to fire the $2 million client and put all the resources into the $2 billion client. And they said, well, they don't need that. I said, well, you don't think they need that, but if you put those same resources, statistically, you'll have a $4 billion client far faster and statistically successful versus the chance that this $2 million client someday will be a $2 billion client. Is that something that's aligned within the 80-20 rule, or is it something that you can comment on?
Yeah, you're a natural at this, David. So if you ever get bored of this day job you got, come see me. I can't. Right? It's the heart of it, right?
This is where fun lives. This is where fun lives.
Yeah, the Meltzer House. This is the heart of fun. Yeah, it's nothing more than, I mean, it really is common sense. What we give you is the tools, and you just do it. Everyone always says the same thing, right? I don't have data, or I've got too much. We'll take that data. We'll show you how to do it, and you plug it into an Excel sheet. You don't need some fancy ERP. You look at OTC. OTC is a roll-up of 30 companies that we bought. We're not on the same ERP, but we have to be able to live in that world. So we'll take that data, and we would go to that CEO and say the same exact thing that you said is like, look, this one isn't going to work. But the way that we deal with it is people can agree on typically the really good ones and the really bad ones. It's all the stuff in the middle that they're going to struggle with, right? So we start putting some resources around the good one. We start taking those resources away from the bad ones. And we do it not by, sometimes we fire them, but we'll say things like, you know what, we're not going to give you any terms anymore. You'll find your small customers are the ones that don't pay you. So it's give us a credit card or pay us up front or what, but there's no terms. The minimum orders go up. You know, well, okay, we'll do that, but now you got to order 1,000 versus 1, and it goes on. And we give you 12 ways to think about it. It's called the dirty dozen, right? But yeah, we'll do it, but we're only going to make this product once a year, and we're going to make it on a Thursday, September 21st. Get your order in now, right? Or we'll do it this way, but it only comes in a combo pack, right? So you got to get it all. You're going to get all the wheels. We're not going to spec whatever it is. And then those customers start self-selecting. So the funny thing is you'll go do the math, and their best customers are paying more money. It's shocking. Your profitability is way higher. Those little guys are sucking all the resources out of you. Their margins are low. They're difficult to deal with because they got something you're not good at either, right? That's what they want. And then they don't pay their bills. So you start raising all that, and you say you can only place the order online, or you can only whatever it is, right? You take those same salespeople, you put them over there. So you're telling that to that CEO, and he's going, yeah, you're right. So then this is where you kind of negotiate where you go, all right, well, maybe you're right. Maybe they can't. Let's pick an amount of time. Let's say we'll give them 6 months. In 6 months, they're either in or they're out, or 3 months, or whatever. So you allow that person to have the opportunity to go prove that they're right. But let's be candid. It almost never happens, right?
Yeah.
That's so smart.
Almost never. Yeah,
it is definitely where great ideas go to live. Check out his book. Bill Kennedy is here. Check him out at his website, but everywhere, Barnes and Nobles, Amazon. Check out the audiobook, which I'm getting right after this interview, because I am, that's what I do when I stretch and meditate, all the easy stuff. I love to listen. Did you read your own audiobook, by the way, Bill? Oh, good.
Yeah. You know,
if you want to fall asleep, listen to Blaine and my audiobook. You'll love it.
I don't even get through the first chapter. Right? You'll sleep better than you've ever slept in your whole life. Just download it and go with it.
I love it.
That's good.
Bill, we want you back on our shows as well. We got multiple platforms to promote the book and promote your genius. I will think of you when I'm at University of Chicago, where, by the way, they're one of the great schools in law school to reject me. He actually was really nice. I got to one of the few law schools that interview University of Chicago. Blaine, you'll like this. So I was super positive, and the guy says to me, the dean, he says, Mr. Meltzer, you're going to make a great addition here at University of Chicago. And my eyes lit up. He said, when you're 26 or 27.
Yeah, not today, though. Not,
not today.
Not for you.
Yeah, not
right?
today.
Yeah. So my uncle had gone there after he'd worked for HUD, and he was a little bit older, and he pressed upon me the amazing law school at University of Chicago and what a great addition I would have made. But nonetheless, Tulane University is proud to have me as a graduate, and we're proud to have you as a graduate of Office Hours. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me. Have a great day, folks.
Thanks, Bill.
I love it.
Enjoy the rest of your week.
What a great guest. All right. So I think we can, I just have a quick question for you. I love when someone says something so deep and it passes by, like where fun goes to die, and you start thinking about where else is fun going to die in my life, and who am I surrounding myself with, and who's pressing upon me their values that I should somehow suffer. One of the great, for me, criteria of life is to, do my best, learn lessons, and have fun. I can't go somewhere where fun dies, and that's why I love it here. Is I do my best to be here, even if it's mobile. I learn more here than I did in any graduate school I ever attended or personal development. But most importantly, I have a blast, and the more we do it, the better of a time. These people have just such a great attitude towards teaching us, and that book is one that you and I can definitely use to make money and help people and have fun with.
Absolutely. Yeah. That whole idea of, go ahead. You got a question there?
No, I was going to ask you, I was going to just say, do you have something you could share like along those lines of, what Bill was talking about, where people just don't see the trees through the forest?
Yeah. I mean, it kind of goes back to that question that I, put in front of him there about we get so attached to the cash cow, the idea here of being successfully stuck, kind of comes to mind.
That's good. Glamorized stuck, successfully stuck.
Yep. Yeah. When we're successfully stuck, it becomes a rut. I mean, there's no fun. There's literally no fun. We know how to do it. It's repetitive. I'm going to go back to, in 2020 when, the world went to hell in a handbasket, and, you and I looked around and just instead of going, this is a calamity. I know what you did. I know what I did. It's kind of like, I know there's a pony in here. Let's have some fun with this.
Yeah. And I gotta tell you too, it applied to our charity. We do so much with the Unstoppable Foundation, unstoppablefoundation.org. Cynthia Kersey is the founder, and Blaine and I sit on the board, and there's been incredible supporters, the Bob Proctors, Jack Canfield's, Mary Morrissey's, and the list goes on and on, the world thought leaders that have been involved. But I would tell you that the one thing that stressed me out the most in COVID was, all the efforts that were going on with the charity. And yet we found a way, thanks to Cynthia's leadership, to serve over 1 million meals and continue where so many foundations failed to continue to thrive. And I know we're on the other side of it, and we had a conversation about, geez, looking back, holy moly, with everything that went on, how are we in such a good position? And it's the people out there, and the communication, and the belief, and the faith, and the wisdom that got us there. And your leadership with Cynthia is much appreciated. And I just want to thank you for all. I look and see the schools and the community centers and the villages, and we're continuing to grow. And so anyone out there that wants to support Blaine and I and Cynthia, unstoppablefoundation.org, we're doing everything that we can to create a unified, infinite loop of giving, being given, and receiving. So thank you for that as well. People forget about the foundations that suffered during COVID.
Yeah, I mean, the whole, the Stoic philosophical positioning of the obstacle is the way. This is, kind of a takeaway from Marcus Aurelius. But the obstacle becomes the way to something brand new. And rather than getting stopped, going, well, that sucks, I guess we got better fold our tent and go home. It's kind of like, well, this is kind of cool. What's it, what direction is this going to move me into now? I hadn't thought about that direction. And, the meals had always been kind of a mainstay foundation. It was one of the pillars of what we did with the foundation. But when everything else kind of went sideways, we could still do meals. We could actually, and we found a way to bring 1 million meals to this part of sub-Saharan Africa. And it was I mean, I still get chills thinking about it. Just the way that it was mobilized and the way that, the donors stepped up, the team stepped up, all of that stuff. Just kind of in the back, you and I both in the back door, kind of supporting it. So the obstacle is always the way. And fun, when fun goes to die, it gets crushed by the rock that appears as an obstacle. And if you're kind of, go around it, go over it, go under it, go through it, whatever you do, but don't treat it as something that's going to stop the fun. Go have fun with this. If you're skating on thin ice, you may as well dance. What the hell?
Yeah, I love it. Real quick, takeaways for the day. We've had these great guests on today. What's your takeaway?
I'm going to go, a couple of things here. I think really what we've just been talking about, the obstacle is the way in one sense, where, I mean, if we go, literally back to, the whole gaming conversation that we had with Chris, I mean, games are fun, but to be able to bring that joy to market, how do people feel about themselves when they're in the presence of your service or product? That's what Chris is up to. That's also really what Bill is up to. Yeah. What's the part here that's most vibrant? How do people feel about themselves when we're inventing something new, when we're leveraging what really could be possible? That sort of stuff comes into play.
I love it. And mine's right along the side of being excited about Einstein Laboratory at Princeton and Einstein and the study that I've done, especially through Walter Isaacson, one of my favorite authors now, and his historical research and opinions and advice that he gives. But it's just simply, we can't solve a problem in the same consciousness in which it was created. And I think our guests really show that things change so fast, and this idea of having fun, but we just can't solve things looking at the same way and doing the same thing. So one of my favorite pieces of advice, one of my favorite people who's given me some of my favorite advice, Blaine Bartlett, blainebartlett.com. Check it out if you want some great mentorship, some guidance, a leader amongst leaders, the compassionate capitalist himself. Blaine Bartlett, thanks for joining me on Office Hours.
My brother, have a great rest of your week. Enjoy Chicago.
I will.
Thank
you so much. That's easy. All right, everyone. We are leaving our beautiful meetup. I did a tag talk up at the Westin in LAX. Now we're on our way to the journey. Monday, Chicago. Tuesday, New York. Wednesday, New Jersey. Thursday, Philadelphia. Friday, Chicago and Wisconsin. Saturday, Madison. And Sunday, we look forward to all the meetups, all the VIP dinners, all the lunch and learns, all the investor dinners, lunches, etc. Please join us. All you got to do is email me, david@dmeltzer.com, and then we'll be back in Las Vegas filming our shows. We are here, we are there, we are everywhere. If you want to find out here, there, and everywhere, come to training tomorrow as well. 949-298-2905. That's the alerting system. To know how, where, when, and what you can get meeting us. Please join us, build a community of people who want to help each other and know people that can help each other. We are blessed to have such a community here on Office Hours. We'll continue to shine with the biggest and the brightest. Thank you, everyone. Remember, most importantly, be more interested than interesting. Be kind to your future self and do good deeds. We'll see you tomorrow at training, 6 a.m. Pacific time. Thank you.